Let's have another look at this Tech465 that I've been showing recently. In the first video I showed that there was a resistor and a diode on the bottom board that were very charred, and we worked our way through and I got the scope working, but there was no vertical deflection at all on the scope and you couldn't position the trace even. And it was suggested in a comment that I look at the vertical output board, which is this one in front of you. Now, this is the sync separator board. This is an option, and it's usually screwed in place just here. So I couldn't see a couple of faults that were on this board until I removed it, and I'd like to share those with you now. Let's zoom in a bit. You've got a burnt resistor here, red burnt in the middle, another resistor here with like a scorch mark next to it. I'll zoom out and zoom back in, and then over here you can just see behind this, I think that's a capacitor, you can just see behind that this resistor here is quite brown in the middle, and the one just following it behind it is quite shiny and looks as if it's been burnt. Just hold the camera up so you can see those last two, just here, these two. On the underside of the board, and I've not removed the board yet, I've just managed to peek under this little gap here. There's a component that sits underneath this resistor. I'm not sure whether it's a resistor, a small choke or a capacitor. It's got shrink tubing on the leads, and it is really charred, and there's another component that I can't quite see, so I'm going to have to remove this board and have a look at it. It's only a couple of screws, so it won't take long. But whether or not I just replace these components and it all starts working again, and I really do hope this Tech IC isn't trashed, whether it all fixes and it comes back to life again, what was the original fault that caused this? And it must be quite a serious fault. I mean, that's a 1 watt resistor. Must be something pretty strong to cause that sort of damage, unless it was a short circuit or something. There's a dry solder joint back here on this trimmer, but I don't think that would have done it. There's nothing, when I open it up, there was nothing loose inside here, like a bit of wire or anything. Don't know. I'm not an expert on tech scopes. I would love to hear anyone who's got any advice on what might have caused this. It's all connected to the beam finder circuit. So my options are now to replace these 4 components and maybe 1 or 2 under the board and see if it works. If not, I'm not sure where I'm going to go with it next. I certainly don't want to buy another Tech465 just to strip a vertical output board out of it. And then I've got 3 Tech465s, one of which I'll be looking for yet another output board. I've been searching around this last week or so for output boards and I haven't found any. This scope may end up being like a parts mule. I don't want it to be. I'd like 2 scopes. As I say, this one's got a sync separator option on it. It's a little bit higher spec, if you like, than the other one, but we'll see how it goes. The resistors in question, if you want to look at the circuit, and this is a low serial Tech465, the resistors are R449, R405, R403 and R407. Now, in the low serial manual, there's a resistor here on these 2 pads that obviously isn't here now, so there are a little bit of there's a little bit of a difference, and I'm not sure what that component is underneath. It doesn't call them out, and I'm not even sure what these components are. That is a brown ring. It's got a brown ring either end. In the manual, that should be a 733 ohm resistor. It clearly isn't. I think it's a 1k resistor, So I'm not sure what these components should be. I need to do a bit of research on that. Hopefully I can find out what the ones at the back are, because one's very brown. I'm sure this one's like brown, I don't know, it's brown something. But anyway, so would really appreciate any thoughts, advice, mainly on what could have caused this. It's all in circuit with the components I replaced on the bottom board, which are the beam finder circuits.